Good evening, everyone. I know you all are saying, Barry, this was supposed to be a holiday for us, and you done pulled everybody out the house. But nevertheless, thank each of you all for coming out. Can you give yourselves a round of applause? If I sound a little funny, I have these retainers in that I just spent an arm and a leg getting my teeth fixed. So I have to keep them in. So my apologies in advance. But at this time, we're going to have Pastor DeAndre Carswell, the co-host and pastor of this church, to come and open us up in prayer as well as give us a welcome. Give him a hand clap as he comes.
Amen. Amen. I am Pastor Carswell. I want to, first of all, before I pray, welcome you to our church, to our home, to our neighborhood. If this is your first time to our city, welcome. We've been on this corner since 1902. My great grandfather started this church. And so I thank God for Bishop Barry, for Howard Thurman, the theologian, talks about common ground. And I thank God for allowing this church to be common ground for us. And I was thinking earlier today, I'm also thankful that we have peace in our name, because that's the perfect place to have this conversation at, and the perfect place that we can all come together and search for solutions. So let us bow our heads. Graceful and eternal God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this evening. We thank you for every individual that is represented in this place. God, we ask that we leave this place with actionable solutions, oh God. That not only we leave this place, God, but we ask, Lord, that you, God, give an extra blessing to the organizer of this event, God, for allowing all of us to come together on this off day, God, to come up with solutions for a city that we love, a city that we adore, and a city that we call home. God, bless this city. Bless every street in this city, God. And we ask, Lord, from this day forward, that this will be the start of a new beginning within our city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. And before I hand it back over, just some logistics. Our restrooms are located through that door. So if you kind of would politely duck down past the cameras and go to the restroom, it's through that door. There is a side door that is locked, but if you have any accessibility issues, we do not mind unlocking it. Our greeter is at the door. It's not Sunday, but we still believe in greeting people, and Sister Jackie is back there. So if she can do anything for you, that's her job and her responsibility is to make sure that you're comfortable in this place, okay? All right. All right. So the bathrooms are through the door. There's an exit back there. There's an exit right there also. Bishop?
The lobby.
No problem. So one more thing, logistics wise. So we have a website where we are streaming this live from our church's page. There's several different ways you can get to it. If you have Facebook, you can literally type in the Prince of Peace Church in a search bar, and it's going live on the page right now. And if you could politely share that, please. If not, there's also www.popcva.org. And if you go to services, there's Facebook and there's YouTube. So if you want to go back and watch this during the week or whenever, this will be on YouTube and it will also be on Facebook live streamed. All right, good to go.
Come on, let's give him a round of applause. And again, guys, if you would be so kind to share his church page, just so that others that are at home can look at and see this conversation as well. I want to explain a few things to you all before I bring up the Honorable Cynthia Morrison. First of all, a lot of my panelists was asking, well, are we going to be at the church or we're going to be at the casino? I said, no, we're going to be at the church. Well, we see Rivers Casino on the page, on the flyer. What's the casino? And I get that on purpose to get the response that I wanted, because at the end of the day, a lot of other locales, other cities, other counties are saying the same thing you are saying. Why the casino? Not just why the casino, but why the casino in Portsmouth. So if you all saw the flyer, I purposely posted Senator Lucas, Delegate Don Scott, and Dr. Cardia Patillo, because there is no other city, no other county in the state of Virginia where they have representation from their state and county representing them on the state level. Whether you voted for these individuals or not, it still speaks to the greatness that we have in our city, with Senator Lucas being the chair of appropriations and finance, as well as President Pro Temp, and Delegate Don Scott being Speaker of the House, and Dr. Cardell Patillo being the president of the Virginia State School Board Association. So I think with that, and then we have the casino that brought us in an additional $16 million this year. I think that's enough to give God a hand clap of praise for, even if you don't gamble. And that is why I did that, because that's our foundation. And I brought people together so that we could have a conversation on where do we go from there, from that place of where we at and what have you. So, little house rules. Our guests that are here tonight, some of them may or may not be running. They can't discuss about them running. I didn't have to be fair, but I chose to be fair because this is my event. So I could have allowed those that I put on this program to campaign all they want, but I wanted to be fair because we have other people running for school board and we have other people that are running for city council that's not on panel tonight. However, because our mayor and vice mayor are so busy, I wanted to give them an opportunity to take advantage of everything, because they did not have to make time out of their busy schedule to come here and be here tonight. So the two of them are the only two that can campaign tonight, because at the end of this event, each one of them will be able to take 2 or 3 minutes to stand up and tell you what they've done so far for the city and how to gain and earn your vote this upcoming election. So from our panelists here, I'm going to ask that each one of them will introduce themselves, and then they each get 2 minutes. It don't take 2 minutes to ask a question or share a statement, but I wanted to give them 2 minutes because some of their questions or statements may be loaded. Because I told them, we're not here to talk about the bad. Because right now, if I did a poll in this audience and ask you, do you have anything that you know that's bad that's happening in the city? Everybody here can raise their hand. So we're not here to talk about the bad. We're here to build upon the good and what we can do going forward as a city. So when it comes to you, we will start at this front row, second row, third row. You will stand. Each row have the microphone. You would share your question or statement, and then the mayor and vice mayor, and we will defer to the mayor first, being the mayor, and then the vice mayor. They both will get 2 minutes to respond to your statement or question. And then you may have a little rebuttal, but you only get 1 minute to rebut if you need to. I'm not saying you will have to, but if either one of them say something, you have to give both of them the opportunity to share. And then once they finish, I will look to you to see, do you have any follow-up? But please do not take it that I'm being rude or because this is my event. It's just that I want to respect everyone's time, and we have to be out of here by 8 p.m. So therefore, if you go over, please don't make me stand because I have back issues. But if you see me try to stand, that means you're talking too much. All right? So as my grandmother would say, in order for us to discover our possibilities of how we go in the future or what we can accomplish in the future, you must appreciate where you've been. So with that being said, at this time, I'm going to call forth the Honorable Cynthia P. Morrison to give us a history lesson about where Portsmouth have been then and now. Come on, give her a round as she comes.
I just want to make sure that people understand the city of Portsmouth and where we have come from in terms of Black history in the city and in the political arena. Portsmouth stands on the shoulders of giants. When Don Scott was elected, I'm sorry. I'll hold it closer. That's better. Okay. When Don Scott was elected recently, and we went to Richmond for that swearing in, I learned a little bit of history that I had never heard in the entire time I've been in Portsmouth. And that the very first African American to serve after Reconstruction in the Virginia General Assembly was actually the from the city of Portsmouth. His name was George T. Mock, and he represented Portsmouth and Norfolk County at the convention of 1867 through 1868 in the Senate of Virginia. He served from 1869 to 1871, and he came from this city. So we have been at this business of working together in our city, and I do mean working together, all of us, trying to have a say in this city for a very long time. This city has had constitutional officers elected, people of color, before most of the other cities around here ever had them. My husband, Johnny Morrison, was elected to the office of Commonwealth Attorney long before any other city in Hampton Roads ever had one. Portsmouth did it. And when I say that, we must understand it's not just us voting for us to get elected, but it is the citizens of Portsmouth, which means both Black and white citizens have a say who represents them. So we have been at this as a city for a very, very long time. We have had representation on our city council going back to the days, and some of you will not even know these names, when Raymond Turner, Big Boy Turner, yep. But some of the younger folk probably like, well, who in the world is Big Boy Turner? Raymond Turner and Mayor Holly, back in the day, served. We've had folk on the bench that actually started off with council. Archie Elliott, before he was a judge, served this city. We've had people representing both male and female on all three courts in this city. Judge Alotha Willis in JDR courts. Johnny Morrison, y'all took him from Commonwealth Attorney and let him go to circuit court, and is now the longest serving continuous judge in the circuit court in the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. He got more years under his belt because of what the citizens of Portsmouth, and I do mean all of the citizens, have done. This city. Ken Melvin, who is now a judge, we sent him to the House of Delegates. And I do mean we, because I wanted to let you know Portsmouth has been at this. We have, as a group in this city, of working together to send the best talent that we have to represent our little city. We're the smallest of all of the cities in the 757. I want you to know that. We ain't but 31 square miles. And when we started, we were less than that. It was downtown only, Old Town. When folk come to my records room and want to know, do you have my deed, i.e. St. James asked me for their deed. I had told them they had to go over to Chesapeake because Old Town was it. That was all. But we've been at this, people, and I want you to be proud of our heritage and what we have accomplished. We may make mistakes along the way, but we have never given up on this city. We always strive to do our best and to send the best that we have to offer. And we have had great success at that. Do we make some mistakes sometimes? Yeah, but that's part of life. But do we correct them? You better believe it. We are among the best at working together to do the best for our citizens in the entire Hampton Roads. And that's why now we not only have the Speaker of the House, the President pro tempore of the Senate, the House not the House, the Finance and the Chair of Appropriations and the President Pro Temp of the Senate. And as they say, and all eyes rest on the city of Portsmouth, and all power resides in the city of Portsmouth, because we've always sent our best. And we've always worked hard to give the Commonwealth of Virginia the best that we have. And it has paid off because we've kept them there. Senator Lucas has her seat of power because we sent her and we kept her there all those years. So that's in your history lesson for the day. That's right.
Thank you so much, Ms. Morrison. I call her the professor. If you ever get an opportunity just to talk with her, you'll find so much wealth of information and how they put people on buses and did things just to go to the polls to make sure that we had adequate representation. All right, we're going to get started. But before we do, there's a black Equinox license plate ending 4949. They need you to move it. And if you can, there's parking over to the left, but they say you're up on the curve or too near the curve. All right. A black Equinox if you're in here. All right, at this time, we're now going to start with our panelists, and you all are to introduce yourselves, and you have 2 minutes to share your statement and or ask your question, whether your question is loaded or if you can get 20 questions off in 2 minutes, do what you got to do. But please stand. We're live. Please share. Go to the Prince of Peace Church and share. That way you won't have to do like many of us, like Miss Costello, my mentor, that just walked in here. She'll be up to about 3 o'clock in the morning telling everybody about what happened. So I'm trying to help her out. So if you ain't got to find out what happened, if you just go ahead on and tune in live. All right? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Elvira Johnson Williams, and I am the president of the Wilson Ward Gosport Civic League. We cover 7 little communities. I had a lot of statements in going forward. Barry was at one of my Civic League meetings, and he called me out there Tuesday night at City Council about the police report that we got because of the community. So what I did, or what I still do, is ask the people in my community to keep the community clean. See, burglars and thievery and all this other stuff, people don't like that stuff. And it's not my total responsibility, but it is my responsibility because that's where I live. And I like to clean it up. And we have kids coming out cleaning up. And I get a whole lot of feedback. Well, the city needs to do this and the city needs to do that. Well, on behalf of the city, we're understaffed. The city needs help. I guarantee you, they know that. And we can help it. In our communities, I go around and ask people, leave your porch lights on. It don't cost that much. My porch light never goes off. I know there's a lot of things that can be done, but a whole lot that's not being done. And we cannot put all the blame on council. Council can't fix it. We got to be the ones to fix it. Going down to council, fussing at them, I would like to know if you were to change positions with council members, what would you do? Most people on council have a job, so they can't be everywhere all the time. So in the meantime, what are you doing to better your community? Instead of coming downtown being argumentative, come with a solution. What I tell everybody when they come to me with a problem, I say, before you question me or give me your problem, tell me what your solution is going to be. If you don't have a solution, why are you looking for me to have one? I say to all the citizens in Portsmouth, it's time for us to get up and do what we have to do. Maybe we need to have more parenting classes or something because our children are running amok and we cannot be friends with our children. We just can't do it. The police don't have the staff. City council sure can't do it. I'm sure they got children and grandchildren of their own. So why can't we do it? My children are grown, gone, grandchildren grown, but that don't stop me from going out there doing what I think is right. And I just wish everybody in Portsmouth, instead of complaining, do something about the complaint that you have first before you take it to somewhere else, thinking somebody else is gonna fix your problem for you. Thank you.
Sure. I do want to add to that. Thank you, Ms. Elvira, for your comments. You know, one of the things I've often said as a leader, the whole thing starts with you. When you look in the mirror, there's an old saying and there's an old poem that's called The Man in the Glass. And I've shared that with a lot of folks. When you look at what's happening in our city, you are the first solution. In the book Job Wars, Mr. Gallup talks about when you look at a city that's winning, that's performing, that's doing well, why is that? It's because the citizens are doing the work and holding the leadership accountable for the support that they need to provide so that we can do well. I can tell you all of the stuff that comes across my desk, Portsmouth is doing well. But, however, we have to work together collaboratively as a community and as a government to figure out how we move forward. And we're moving in that direction. And I'm excited and I'm motivated by all of the people here tonight because you came here because you care about your city. And what we need is more individuals that care and put their hand in the dirt and work together. When we have our community cleanups, I can tell you, many of you in this audience are at those events, picking up trash, getting involved, and many others can't be at those events. I understand that. But at the end of the day, if you want your community to be the best and serve you in the way that it needs to serve you, you must be engaged. I don't know any other solution. And when you are engaged and you share that with your neighbor, then you encourage them to do the same. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here tonight. Ms. Elvira, I thank you for your comments because you were honest in stating what the issues are. A lot of times we on council, people think that we are the fix-all to every solution, every issue that comes up in our city. And we are humans, we do have jobs, and we have a servant heart. We took on this position because we felt like that we could bring a solution to bring an actual solution to problems that are real here in our city. And the first thing that we do is to show up, like events like tonight. And we had an event last week with the chief of police, the community Portsmouth United. And it's going to take us continuously working together to find solutions to this problem. It's not just a city council problem. It's not just a civic league problem. It's not just a church problem. And once we've realized that Portsmouth United is what it's going to take for all of us to come together and fix the solutions, then I think we'll all be better. So I thank you all for being here to support us tonight. And I'm looking forward to the conversation and going to keep it going until we can find a solution to it.
All right, before Mr. Ray gets up, again, guys, if you turn your phones on silent or vibrator, and also for those of you all that may want to know where the restroom is right through that hallway. Also, so that we don't work our mayor and vice mayor to death, I would ask that they would just keep their seats until the end and what have you, because I definitely don't want vice mayor tripping up trying to get out of there and what have you. But I would ask that you all would stand with your answer, and the cameras are so positioned that they can see everybody on Facebook right now on the stage in here. All right, Mr. Smith.
Good evening. Thank you, Barry, for the opportunity, and with giving all due respect to Pastor Kaysen for allowing us to be here. I think everybody knows me. I'm looking out in the audience. My name is Ray Smith, and I began my journey years and years ago as a senior in high school when I first entered the political arena, working on a city council bid by my classmate, Dolores Overton, back in the day. I'm one of those old OGs or old guys, like you want to say. All of the names that Ms. Morrison called were some of my mentors when I came up through the ranks, and I learned from them. I spent time with them, and even as well as one of my coworkers, Junius Williams, that's sitting out there, who pulled me out of work to lobby with him in Richmond and Washington, D.C. for Dominion Energy. I know that's not a popular subject, but that's one place that I learned a lot about the local government, having been served and state and federal, having served on the school board for 10 years and 5 on the city council, is giving me a broad view of the way things have evolved. Believe it or not, some of y'all, may not think so. And as the mayor said, Portsmouth is in very good shape overall, financially and economically. If you look at the millions of dollars that are flowing in here through the state and the federal government on infrastructure and other things like that, if you see all of the work that's been going on over the years, a lot of that money is coming from the state and the federal government, millions and millions of dollars throughout Hampton Roads, not only just Portsmouth, but Hampton Roads. But we have awesome tasks as being labeled one of the most dangerous cities in the country. And that's strictly based, as you all should know, on percentages and population, which a lot of us that live here every day and travel, we know where a lot of these things originate from, that where the police can't be 24/7 every day, every hour of the day. But we still have a responsibility to try to do what we have, even us as citizens, now that I'm not in public office, to do the right things and the things that we know that's going to make things safer and better for Portsmouth. I believe, and this is one of the things I would, propose and ask to Mayor and Vice Mayor. We would just introduce, and I think it's just awesome if you missed the opportunity for the program as far as Portsmouth United that the chief presented. It is very good, so awesome, because I believe personally that it's going to take everybody, just as Elvira said. And did I explain also, let me go back. I am president of Cavalier Manor Civic League, and also the president of the Lake Cavalier Association, which is also another group in Cavalier Manor. Some of you call that Crystal Lake, but it's actually called, the proper name is Lake Cavalier, not Crystal Lake. Crystal Lake Drive is the only Crystal Lake name that's out in that area, but that lake is called Lake Cavalier. There's about 250 homes on that lake, and we probably have maybe 60 or 75 members that are owners of the lake, and we pay real estate taxes and all the other fees on the property. But getting back to my point, that Citizen United opportunity is a golden opportunity for us to find a way to get into these homes. That's where the problems that we're having with crime, with our young people out in the street, not going to school, the absenteeism, and that's where the trouble lies. From the folks that I talk to, the guys that I talk to in the street that are out in the street, they know and they realize that a lot of what's going on now is a lot of the young people in that 14 to 15, a lot of the automatic weapons owners and shooters are those folks that anywhere from 15 to 17 years old, and as well as folks that are younger than 18 are in our juvenile system. But we have got to figure a way, and this is a golden opportunity for us to take the 501(c) type organizations to come together and to figure out how we can approach this through the homes by reaching these young people early. Some of those you won't be able to even identify who they are, but we need to try to identify as many as we can young before they get pulled into these gangs, because these gangs are about family, and that's why they go. That's the draw. So we have to come up with a way to figure out how can we identify these youth and get to them, because what we do in the communities in Cavalier Manor, we have midnight basketball. We do a lot of activities. We're going to have Peace Week coming up in April, but the kinds of youth that need to be in there are not coming. They won't come. So we have to try to identify who they are through the school system, through the juvenile system, whichever way legally we can. We've got to try to identify them and try to figure out how can we reach them. How can we get somebody, a mentor or some kind of service to them, whether it be a job, whether it be any mental health situations, whether it be, helping them to weed through a lot of their personal problems. And that's the way I think this is a golden opportunity that I think that we can make a dent, that we can really make a difference.
Absolutely. So if I could just expound a little bit on that, because there's a few things that I think about when I wake up in the morning. I think about the safety of our children and our seniors and our citizens, and I think about the opportunities that we are creating for our citizens. In 2019, when I was on city council, I remember calling one of our school board members, Lakeisha Clue Atkinson, and I shared with her that there was a gun situation with the juvenile, and I shared with her, I said, we've got to do something. And we came together and we put a group of nonprofits together, and we had an event called Bike This Way to End Gun Violence. You remember that, Dr. Jackie? And we raised money. We raised money for that event, and we brought bikes for children, and we brought children together. That was the precursor, because when I became the mayor of the city of Portsmouth, that was still on my heart and my mind. And so as a result, I traveled the country, and I met with a group, the Bloomberg Harvard Initiative, and I went to New York, and I sat with those folks, 30 mayors from across the world, and we talked about violence in their communities and how we could improve the situation for our citizens. As a result of that, we were able to get a Harvard-educated student to come here to the city of Portsmouth, free of charge, work with our community for 6 weeks, and come up with a program, a whole community approach, reducing gun violence. Let me share with you what came out of that study, because many people don't understand we have done the work. And by the way, when we had this group come here, it cost the city of Portsmouth $0 because of my affiliation and just getting involved. It cost the city nothing. But here's one of the things that came out of this study, and I have a copy that can be sent to everyone in the room. For example, did you know, this was back in 2022 when this report was given, 30% of our children in one of our high schools don't show up. Now, that school has 1,000 children. So if 30% don't show up on a given day, that's 300 children that's not in school. What happens when those children are not in school? They get involved with things that they probably shouldn't get involved with. But the great thing about this study, which leads to what was done last week with the Portsmouth United Initiative, the chief and I had a conversation. Let me give you some outcomes, because this is a totally data-driven study. And you can't impact a problem if you don't know the what, when, where, and how, and why. Is that fair? You'll get a copy, but I wanted to share a couple of insights real quick. This was a part that talked about before the violence. It says grassroots organizations are the powerhouses for preventive programs for primary populations of youth. They focus on specific neighborhoods at risk where they have strong base of contextual knowledge and social networks. With these assets, they are in the best position to deliver relationship and skill building activities for our youth and our caregivers. Back to what you said, getting to the root. This is a comprehensive, but there's one more thing I want to share with you that came out of this. We put together an innovation team, a core team of individuals. Some of you in this room was on that innovation team. I believe you were on it, Bishop. In that innovation team, we met with people in the community, stakeholders, parents. We got information. Out of that core team, once that core team was done, the recommendation was to do what? To start a crime task force. And that's where we are now. We're in the process of starting that crime task force. The Portsmouth United Initiative is an initiative brought on by the chief and his team. But the beauty of that program, it's an intervention and prevention program that has proven methodologies that will enable us to come together as a community and help those people where they are right now. And so when you think about solutions, that's what I think about. I didn't come into this position just to be a placeholder. I came here to tackle the real problems that are going on in our community. Crime and gun violence is unacceptable anywhere, anytime. The last thing I want to say, there was a documentary this past weekend. Many of you in this room were not there. This documentary was done at the Commodore Theater. It was free. The name of the documentary was Bad Things Happen in Philadelphia. And that documentary, they gave 2 showings. That documentary talked about gun violence and how it's impacting the lives of these young people. There was a brother in the audience who started a nonprofit. And he started that nonprofit, and the name he gave it was Shoot Basketballs, Not People. And as a result of that, they have made a difference in the city of Philadelphia, in that community where those children and those people were living in fear. We can do and we will do the same thing in the city of Portsmouth. And I encourage you all to please get involved. Thank you.
Well, our mayor has covered a lot of information, and we did have the information from the Bloomberg group that came and presented to us. And we, as a council, did vote to have our mayor to go and represent us, the city. So it's not just one person, it's the whole city council who authorized this initiative to go forth. And the presentation was given to us, and you'll get a copy of that information. But one of the things inside of it, you'll find around the first couple pages, it did ask for us to create a task force, and that was something that we were adamant about. We have a list of persons who have already applied. It is still open for those who are interested in applying, and we will be going forth with that commission within the next 30 days after we close out all of the candidates. Back to Civic League President Ray Smith. I am a part of the Lake Cavalier Association, and we have a beautiful city, and I'm sure that all of our communities are beautiful. So we're not just focusing on one community. We're all coming together to make sure that all of our cities are safe and all of our people are safe. And this all just ties right back in together. Our chief of police coming up with the Portsmouth United Initiative, our Bloomberg candidates, persons coming to present to us, and council working together to want these initiatives. It's not just the idea of one person. It's the council working with our community, working with our civic leagues, working with our community leaders, our persons who have the ideas in the courts, those persons who have the information with the school boards, those persons who are in our state levels, who will bring access to capital that we need to make the changes. We can have ideas all day long, and if we don't have people working together or the funding to carry it forth, we still in the same place. So we need to be of a like mind. We need to get persons who are interested in actually seeing change to come about, to work together. And I think we're showing that by our presence here today. So I will be working with you. And if you're interested in applying for our crime commission, you can go to our website and put your name in, and we'll be delighted to move that action forward coming soon.
If there's time at the end, we may. Jack.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Jacqueline Walker, and I am a 21-year educator. 21 of my years has been in Portsmouth Public Schools. Currently, I am the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment for a national education company. My passion for Portsmouth is always through education, working with those who are incarcerated, and also working with goal setting and manifestation. So when you kind of put those three together and you marry those, that actually looks for successful and effective programming. So today, just a little backstory or kind of historical background is that we have several programs in the city of Portsmouth. But as being a teacher, like they said, I was an educator. I did pass out information that I have because I know I can't go through these 2 sheets in 2 to 3 minutes. But in saying that, one of the biggest pieces that I see as an educator and also working on the nonprofit side is that we can have all the effective programming that we want. We can have a lot of different programming, but it's pieces to programming. One piece is proactive. We have a lot of proactive programs. And what that really means is that we are targeting and we are looking forward and working with people who have not been into any crime. And if it's youth, they are not having any suspensions. They are academically inclined, and that's what we call proactive programming. So a lot of the programs that we have in Portsmouth are proactive. However, there's another programming that is called reactive programming. What that means is that if someone has been in some type of trouble, if it's in school, or if they have done something in the community that's a crime, then they need to be involved in reactive programming, which means that we need to look at what needs to be done to help you not to reoffend. I also work with my nonprofit inside of the Portsmouth City Jail, and I started that in 2019 with Miss Leah Stiff that's here today. And we have several programs because that's a reactive program. But an effective program means that you have proactive and reactive together. So what that means is that in any program, you should have some proactive measures that we're going to do, and you should also have some reactive measures that you're going to do, because that's what's going to make it effective. And saying all of that, also as an educator, is that you have to have qualitative and quantitative data. So what that means is that qualitative is about the quality of the programming, which oftentimes can be biased, because I can ask any citizen about various programs. They can tell me that they love it or hate it, and we take that, and that's qualitative. But quantitative is the data that really surfaces and supports what's going on into these various programs. So if in order to have successful programming, you have to be proactive, reactive, and then have that data to support, which also involves evidence-based practices. So if you have all of those pieces together, then you're able to have effective programming. However, I don't see all of those pieces in the programs that we have in the city of Portsmouth. Now, what I will say is that I have worked with 2 programs that have had both, and currently they're no longer funded. So one of the programs that I worked with was called the BOSS Project. That was funded through Portsmouth Public Schools and my foundation and Man Foundation. We had all of those pieces. You can Google it, and you can look at when the principal said that suspensions decreased and SOL scores increased. So that was part of that program, and we had all of that data to support it. The other program was called Community Liaisons, which was between the Portsmouth Sheriff's Office, and also I worked on that. That was the only program in the city of Portsmouth that had 2 licensed educators with terminal degrees, but yet it's no longer funded. So my question is, and I want to clearly state it, so I do have it written down, is that how are these programs vetted and evaluated before implementation to ensure the effectiveness and suitability for our community's needs?
Thank you, Dr. Jackie, and thank you for the work you have done with the Man Foundation and the BOSS. Magnetism. No, it did. No, but truly, a couple of good things that you said there. I can honestly tell you that that's one of the things that we've struggled with as a city, as you are aware, of really taking an opportunity to manage the programs in terms of data, right? And that was one of the things that I was really excited about when we went through the program I just discussed with you. Look, we can't expect what we don't inspect. And you're exactly right with that. All I can say to that point that you just made that's critically important, we're working toward that end. We're talking to individuals that can bring us information and also bring us support that can help us do a better job of managing those expectations. But to your point, as a city, we haven't done a good job of that. And that's what we need to do. And we need to have input from folks like yourself to help us do that job. And I know sometimes it seems like you can't break through right away. And all I know is sometimes persistence pays off. You've got to talk to the right people. But this is the first time I think we've really had this public conversation. We want to be better. I can tell you that. And we want to measure the expectations because that's how we can help our children. And that's the most important thing. And absolutely, it's a collaborative effort between city, schools, community, all of us working together. And you all should demand that in terms of information. We've got to do a better job at it. And from the top down, the council must do a better job. And we've got to require that our leaders who we put in place do a better job of that. And then set the expectation. Because it's one thing to want it, but if we don't set the expectation and the time frame when the report is due, and then what are we going to do with the information? I think that's the beginning. And I hope that you'll be interested in helping us get there.
Dr. Jackie, thank you for those comments. I've worked with you on the Mann Foundation too. I think it is good work. Part of this problem, the issues that we have are there are not enough 501c3s who know how to effectively complete their paperwork. So we do have organizations out there who would help persons to be correct in that aspect. And we went back to the funding. Right now, we're in the middle of our budget season, and things like this can come before council, can come before our sheriff department, and we can just identify where the funding needs to be. A lot of times we do have a lot of organizations that come to us that want the help or need the help, but we need to look at the organizations that are proven, the ones that can provide measured data-based, measured outcomes so that we can actually see what is being done, how is it helping our communities, and how we can move forward with it in the future. So there is funding out there. Our city manager has a discretionary fund that she can provide funding to programs at sometimes. And I'm not so sure that everyone knows about your program or some of the other ones that are being offered in the community. So that's what part of us coming together, Portsmouth United, whatever we do to stay connected, to find out the organizations that are 501c3s that are authorized, that can provide data-based outcomes to show that their programs are being effective in the community. They're changing the lives of students or changing the lives of families or helping those who are incarcerated and helping their children to be able to cope with the situations that cause them to not go to school because they have to go and get a job because they have to eat and they have to eat and they have to buy clothes for their younger sisters and brothers, and that's why they're not in school. So there are root causes to a lot of these issues, and I think that if we sit down and identify what they are, then we can fund the programs that are effectively doing what's needed to make change in the city of Portsmouth.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor, for even agreeing to listen to this type of forum. And Barry, this is a really good forum to offer solutions instead of just the regular questions. So excellent job. My name is Yolanda Edmonds Thomas. I currently serve on the school board of Portsmouth Public Schools. I was elected November 2020, so my term started January 1st, 2021, and my term will be completing this December 31st, 2024. And, you know, when Barry provided this forum, I wasn't quite sure if I was just going to kind of highlight some items in the school and talk about with our vice mayor and mayor, just more collaboration between the city and the school. But after thinking about it, I recently attended the police chiefs forum that happened last week. And something stood out. There was a lot of mention of it starts in the schools. There was a lot of mention of programming and camps available for children, that we just need to get more kids involved. We need to work with the schools more. We need to get in the schools. It was a lot of schools. And even I think the chief and some other community members said, it starts in the schools. And it got me to thinking, no, it starts in the home, right? And so, I just wanted to it made me think, and I have deep conversations, long conversations with my dad, Carl Edmonds, who's here. He has a background in behavioral health care. And my husband, Maceo, has worked over 10 years in juvenile detention centers, one in Newport News and one in Virginia Beach. So I talk with my husband a lot when he gets home from work about some of the kids that he works with in the detention center, what charges they have, how they get there, their background and so forth. And when we say it starts at home a lot. And I started thinking, well, what does home look like? What does that mean? Because it means different things for our children. And when we say it starts at home as a way to deter crime, because Barry, when you sent this, you said provide solutions that can curb crime, offer economic development, and just improve the overall quality of life for our citizens. And so when I started thinking about what I see with our schools, the mayor mentioned our absenteeism in schools, and it got worse after COVID. Our students are dealing with a lot of emotional, mental trauma that we still have not scratched the surface of, although Portsmouth Public Schools has been really in the forefront amongst Virginia school systems offering mental support with our Here to Help campaign. So I do want to highlight that. We've been acknowledged nationally as well as around the state for that Here to Help campaign. But I started thinking about the bigger cycle of crime, absenteeism, and it's really poverty. And when we look at poverty levels across our city, we are still way above. I think we were last checked 17.4% versus Virginia's 10% poverty level. And when you look at that, we have to look at ways to break the cycle of poverty. Because when you break the cycle of poverty, not only do you impact decreasing crime, you also improve the hope in education and just future of our children and citizens. So, I'm a numbers person too. And I started doing some digging around, and I saw that the city did do a poverty study. I think it was delivered back in 2019. However, I think it was from the 2017 to 2018. And just it highlighted so many different things. I think we had 16,000 adults and children in Portsmouth that fell below the poverty level. We also, within that number, almost half were children. So you talk about the hopelessness, the education, you have over half that number being children. And we expect them to go into school and learn. We expect them to be productive citizens, and they can, but it's hard. And we have to provide incentives. We have to provide not just services within the school and the city, which have social services, behavioral health care, but we have to do a better wraparound service. And Mayor, you even mentioned just recently, which was right into my point, we have a crime task force, but if we really want to address crime, we need a poverty task force. And that was one of the items from that study, and I think we should follow up with that. And I wanted to see where we are with that. Thank you.
Well, I would agree, and I think that I don't see whether you couldn't roll that into the crime task force as well with the poverty task force, because they're all connected, right? At some point. So that's a good point. The other thing is I wanted to say is that for most young people, they need a caring adult in their lives that they can trust and that can guide them. And I use my own story. My mother raised 6 children. My mother didn't have a big case in Willie Mae Glover. She worked as hard as she could. She kept us all safe. She did what she had to do to raise 6 children. And none of us went to jail. None of us did bad things, for the most part, that we didn't get caught for. And at the end of the day, we knew we had a caring parent. And we knew that I knew that I could not let my mother down. And that gave me the motivation to dream, to hope, to look at opportunity. I was the first to leave home. I was the first to go into the military, first to graduate from college, first to start a business. No one in my family had ever done anything like that. And I credit my mother with giving me the basic foundation. She told me, you can be anything you want to be. We've got to have those things. And even though if mom wasn't there to do it, there was somebody else in the community to pick it up. Because the other side of that number, do you know that probably 70% of young people are being raised by grandparents today? And the reality is that's a tough lift for grandparents. And so when we talk about all of those, I agree 100% wrap around, we must do a better job. And we have the ability. It's not that we don't have the ability. So all the people that think we can't do it, we can. But we've got to have that focus when we wake up every morning. How are we going to impact the life of a child today? That's the question I ask myself. And I'm willing to work with anyone in this room, in this city, in this region, in this state, in this country who wants to help in that effort. But thank you. And I look forward to continuing to work with you and doing the work that we do. Got a lot of respect for the work that you guys are doing on the school board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas, for your statement. It was powerful because a lot of times the poverty issue does get lost in the mix. A lot of people think that it is just one issue, that it's that school's problem, it's the family's problem, it's the home's problem, it's that community over there, it's the whatever it is. Everybody is doing a blame game. And I think that a poverty study would be a good avenue for us to take a look at. And it's probably can be a subcommittee right inside of the crime commission. So you have a crime commission, and that's just one of the subcommittees that they work on, because poverty is not going to be the only root cause of what this crime is bringing. It's the poverty, it's the housing, it's the economic development, it's the lack of access to health care, it's the lack of good parenting skills for some of the parents who just have no hope because they have lost their way somewhere along the way. So it's going to take a moment for us to identify all of those root causes and to decide that we're going to finally address them. And I think that the poverty issue with us is not just in Portsmouth. It's a regional thing. It's a nationwide thing. So this could potentially be a regional aspect that we could take a look at and have somebody with more ideas or more funding, more land, more access to information and resources than just Portsmouth. This is something that the region can work on together. During one of the forums that I attended recently, they mentioned that truancy was an issue because the 30% of the kids are not going to school. But what are those reasons? Why? Everyone doesn't have a home like me and the mayor and some of you who are sitting around here who had two parents or just one parent or just someone who cared. A lot of our students and our kids are raising themselves, and that's why they're conducting the way that they are. But we need to find, as adults, as people who have the opportunity to serve, as people who have opportunities to have access to our federal legislators and our state legislators, let's pull them in as well to see what we can do. So I would be interested in taking that back to council, to seeing that the poverty task force is a subcommittee under the crime commission.
How y'all doing tonight? My name is Robbie Bradshaw. I am not running for anything. I'm not an elected official. I'm just a citizen. I was born and raised here in Portsmouth. I went to John Tyler Elementary, which is now Waterview Elementary. I went to church in middle school. I went to church in high school. I went to ODU and commuted from Portsmouth. The only time I actually left is when I went to law school, and it was in Virginia Beach. So I still was coming back to Portsmouth. And then when I graduated, I came back and bought a house here in Portsmouth. I love the city of Portsmouth. I am a huge proponent of it. And my question / statement is sort of geared towards outside of Portsmouth and our perception to the outside world. So outside of my job as a lobbyist for a nonprofit, I also am a singer-songwriter. And so I play a lot of shows outside of Portsmouth and inside of Portsmouth. But I always say, hi, my name is Robbie Bradshaw. I'm a singer-songwriter from Portsmouth, Virginia. And I always get a bunch of faces like, oh, Lord, that guy is from Portsmouth. Sorry. And I hate it because I love Portsmouth because it has a small town feel. Even though we're in a really big kind of metropolitan region, it's also in a region that is connected by a bunch of tunnels and is primed for you to get from one city to the other Portsmouth is smack dab in the middle. It takes you 15 minutes to get to every single city in Hampton Roads, except for maybe Hampton. Maybe. No, Newport News, one of the two. But I think that it's good for commuters that want to buy a house here. Real estate is pretty good too. You got nice houses, nice old houses, as well as newer houses. And so my question to you guys is, what do you believe is the perception of Portsmouth? Why do you think that is? And then it's a 4-part question. And what are you currently doing to change that perception? And then if you had an unlimited budget, what would you do to change the perception of Portsmouth to the outside world?
Okay, so a couple of things. I think you start off with your first question, and I've talked to the group, the Hampton Roads Realtors Association, a couple of weeks ago, and contrary to what a lot of people think, Portsmouth is a good value. It's a good place to be, and you get more for your money in Portsmouth than anywhere. Our population grew by probably almost 3,000 people over the last couple of years. I think when we sell our city, we need to be the best example of what we desire to see. Why do I say that? If you look at Portsmouth, to the point that Ms. Morrison had made to everyone, many folks that have been successful in our region got their start right here in the city of Portsmouth. You have to sell the city and why you believe that it's better. The point I'm trying to make is when you're talking to people, I always, whether I'm regional, whether I'm at the state or the federal level, when I go to national events, I encourage people to come to Portsmouth. Why? Because we have history, because we have a port, and we have the best people in the world. Remember that song, Portsmouth is for people, all people. That's what my mentor Horace Savage told me. So what we've got to do is we've got to start allowing people to control our narrative. And we've got to tell our story. Is there crime here? Yes. Are there challenges that we face on our city council in other areas? You better believe it. But at the end of the day, when you come here, when you buy here, when I came here 33 years ago, you know what my friends told me? You moving to Portsmouth? I was working at the Naval Hospital. It just made natural sense for me to live in Portsmouth so I wouldn't have to drive through a tunnel. But at the end of the day, why did I come to Portsmouth? I'll tell you my story. Because Portsmouth reminded me of the city I grew up in. Erie, Pennsylvania was the 3rd largest city in Pennsylvania when I grew up, on the lake, had a history, had a port, had all those things. So I fell in love with those amenities. And what we've got to do is be our best storyteller for our city. Encourage them, challenge them. When we have the Umoja Festival, so many people have come to Portsmouth. They were like, wow, this is Portsmouth. And we've got a lot of good things to promote. So all I would say to each and every one of you, encourage people to try us out. I guarantee you, once they try us out, they're going to like what they see, and they're going to probably stay.
Well, thank you for that question. It reminds me of a meeting that I was invited by Joel Rubin not too long ago, and he invited me, a council member from Virginia Beach, and a council member from Chesapeake. And when we left that meeting, they had a different perspective of Portsmouth, because I was not having anything less than we have the greatest city in this region. And the thing that was brought to the table was, I said that, okay, have y'all seen the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, where, you know, they traded places? I said, let's trade places for a day. Let's trade places, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake. And you said, okay, we're going to build this new arena and we're going to get this from the budget and blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're going to build, you know, this new housing community with 500 new houses for seniors, and they're going to be luxury apartments, and we're going to get it from the budget. And we're going to do all of this. We're going to build 10 new schools, and we're going to, you know, have all of this stuff. And I said, and you go to the budget. I say, so trade places, and you have Portsmouth's budget. I said, I think Portsmouth is doing well with the fundings and the revenue that we have been able to generate, and to be able to stay a viable city inside of this region. We're at the table, and they do have a different perspective when we have a different perspective. You got to let people know that, you know, I'm not having it. Anything that you have negative to say about our city, we have something negative to say about your city as well. So part of it is telling our story, and part of the vision that the city council used to have long time ago, or a couple of years ago, it's been that long, but we did have a vision where we would to tell the positive story, give people all of the great things about Portsmouth. We just brought on 2 new ferries with our Hampton Roads Transportation, HRT. And transit is a big issue here in the city of Portsmouth because we all in this room may not rely on transportation or Hampton Roads or transportation from HRT, but we have people that rely on the transportation that we need, that work with us, that's our co-workers, that's maybe nurses, that may be our teachers, that may be some of our other officers that work inside of the city. So we need to use all of those resources that are great for our city, our ferries, our buses, our opportunity, our casino. Whether you believe it or not, it brought in $255 million last year, and the city was a recipient of almost $16 million of that. That's going to create some revenue inside of our budget that we can do a lot of things to help our schools, to help our police officers to be able to recruit like they need more officers on the street. And the part of the question that you said, if we had this endless pot of money, what would we do with it? What would we do? I would be able to create more housing stock, because that is near and dear to my house, that everyone, near and dear to my heart, that everyone needs some place to live, some place that is affordable to their budget. So we don't need to create all one kind of housing stock. We need to create them at every level so that citizens can have an opportunity to buy into it. We don't have a healthcare center that is not a major hospital. We need a patient first. I was sick. My husband was sick. We didn't know if it was COVID or flu, but we had to go to Chesapeake to go to patient first. So access to affordable healthcare and access to healthcare literacy, so that some of the people who are affected by diabetes and cholesterol and some of these other things that are killing off our people, we need places to be able to provide that information, healthcare literacy. We need also economic development. We need more opportunity. My vision was to build out our waterfront. And my next term on council, that is going to be at the very top of my list, to make sure that we have a developer here who is going to take down the blight, take our jail off the waterfront, help us to support our sheriff and our public safety by pouring back into our city, by building something that will create jobs, that will create revenue, and to help reduce the crime. Because when people have access to opportunities and employment and healthcare and housing, then we all doing better.
Can we take a moment and show our appreciation to Bishop Randall and Pastor Carswell for bringing us all together? Honorable Mayor Glover, Honorable Vice Mayor Burke, and to the panel, I think you called us solutionists. I've been called a lot of stuff in my life. Some I can say in church and some I can't. I ain't never been called a solutionist. My name is Kelvin Turner. I'm pastor of Zion Baptist Church. I'm a resident here in the city of Portsmouth. I serve as chair of the Civil Service Commission here for the city of Portsmouth. And when he told us we had 2 minutes, I was like, are you serious? And so I had to craft not the many questions I had, but try and bring it down to focus on one area. If you don't mind, I decided I would write mine down so I can, Brother Junius Williams, stay within my 2 minutes. I am deeply concerned about the level of crime and violence, crime and violence that we experience in our great city of Portsmouth. Inquiring minds ask, how much of this is directly or indirectly interwoven with the school to prison pipeline? We spend a lot of time and resources trying to tackle and restrain the challenges and consequences of crime and violence. We know that crime does not happen in isolation. Violence does not take place in silos. The root causes of crime and violence are intertwined with education and economics, or the lack thereof. I envision a program that would refocus our resources, that will result in a school to shipyard pipeline, a school to certification pipeline, or a school to diploma program pipeline. If they can determine how many prisons to build based on third grade scores or low literacy skills, then why do we wait till high school to try and turn this around? How do we begin to teach coding and trade basics in elementary and middle schools? And since economics is a great attractional factor towards gangs, crime, and violence, how do we develop stipends for those in high school? Our youth are able to receive college credits while still in high school that can reduce college experience by as much as 2 years. What trade programs can we bring in place that will enable those who graduate from trade programs to be hired by the shipyard and the trade industry with advanced standings? Those are my questions.
Pastor Turner, I thank you for those questions. And, I've thought about this a lot, and this is one of my areas of focus in terms of workforce and job development. And one of the things I've often heard and read is that the best deterrent to crime and poverty is teaching our children a skill so that they can have a good job and take care of themselves. One of the things that I've done in the community as a leader, I'm a part of the Hampton Roads Workforce Council, and through that relationship, we are working on a number of initiatives, not only within our city of Portsmouth, but within the region, but specifically in the city of Portsmouth. We recognize that there is an opportunity here to partner certainly with our schools in their career and technical education programs. In addition to, we are already doing some good things with our STAR-based program, exposing our children to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics at a young age. And the goal is to have that program in all of our schools. In addition to that, we are working with businesses in the ship repair and the skilled trades areas to bring new business, to bring companies here to the city of Portsmouth. I'll give you an example. One of the companies that's moving here is Mills Marine and Ship Repair, one of the only minority-owned ship repair firms in Hampton Roads. We met with Mr. Mills, and he's going to be bringing his training facility right here in Portsmouth, and it's going to have a ribbon cutting this week. That will create an opportunity to build the relationship with our children at an early age. We don't just talk about middle school. We want to start grabbing our young people and getting them engaged in the skilled trades and the 4th grade. And we want to work with our schools, and we are going to do that to ensure that our children have a dream and a hope and an opportunity. And ultimately, we hope that that will lead to a future. I'll give you another example. The submarine industrial base, for all you smart people that know about the military, they've got the money. There are billions of dollars in the pipeline to help our children. Part of the problem is, the challenge, not the problem, is we've got to get to those parents. We've got to get to those children, and we've got to get their interest piqued in those industries, because some people don't know. I learned that some of those young people that are coming out with certifications, they're starting at $50,000 a year. That can get you an apartment. That can get you a car. That can get you health care. So those are the things that we need to talk about on a continuous basis, and we are going to do a better job of that. I spoke with Dr. Bracey and some of the leadership. Chairman Patillo was in the meeting. We talked about we must work better collaboratively and get everybody on board. It's about the children winning, sir. And that's what I'm here to do. Help our children win, help our families win. I would love nothing more than to have more of our children be in trade schools and on their way to certifications and success than we have children getting into trouble. That's my commitment, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Turner, for your presentation of what we need to do. And you brought up some great points. We often always talked about the prison, school to prison pipeline, but I like that school to shipyard pipeline, but it couldn't just be that. There are a lot of opportunities, because we found out that all of our students may not be interested in science or technology, engineering, and math. Some of our students are interested in the arts and the sciences and other things that bring them joy or abilities to what they will be willing to do. We do have a partnership, well, not a partnership, but we help fund our school board who is interested in bringing the career and technical educational program right to our Portsmouth public schools. And that would afford the students who are right there inside of the school program to be able to take advantage of those programs that they were offering right there in our Portsmouth public schools. We're going to be using the DAC Center to outfit that program, and I believe that they will be, you will see something coming online within the next 18 months to a couple of years. But what about the students who are not in the school? How do we get access to them? And there are workforce development opportunities, but we need to be able to effectively find out where the missing link is to those persons who don't have access to those opportunities. And it might not just always be the children. We look at the children because we know that they're our greatest assets because they are our future. But we have to get some help to some of the parents, because when the parents can help or do better, then they can help their own children and family members to be able to do better. So I think that we not just focus on the STEM programs or workforce development for those students, but we found a way to reach out to those families and those parents and those fathers who are in need. I recently went to the Senate to support House Bill 1207 that was effective to persons who have previously incarceration, Dr. Jackie. So these are persons who were incarcerated, and they had a bill where they cannot get housing. They've paid all of their fines. They've paid all of their time. They've made their restitution to their society, but they still cannot be able to get a house or an apartment. So our city at the state level and at the federal level needs to change as well, because we're holding some of our own people back and causing additional opportunities of recidivism because they can't get housing, or they can't get a job, or they can't get because of their past. So focusing on our students and focusing on the families will be an issue. And we on council are committed to working with our school boards, because that's where we have the opportunity to help right now. But we need to be able to reach out to our social services and to our behavioral health care services and just tap into people wherever they are, to be able to help people wherever they are to get access to jobs and opportunities for a better, brighter future.
Good evening, everyone. Please excuse my voice. I'm a little hoarse today, and I am Lucretia Mason Underdew, pastor of United Community Church, and I still say we're in Portsmouth. The front of the church is Chesapeake. The back of the church is Portsmouth. We're currently looking for a location in Portsmouth to come, and you want to know why? Because I love Portsmouth. All right, so I'm going to give you and be obedient to my time as well. I have spent right around 18 years in public education as a professional school counselor. I have recently been licensed as a licensed therapist. And there is one thing that I wish that we could just dig a little deeper into, and that's the mental health. When you hear the killings, when you hear the shootings, when you hear these things, and you may think that these individuals are using mental health as a way to cop out. That's not always true. They have serious issues going on. And do you want to know where it really starts? It starts at home with the elementary babies. That's where the money and the resources need to be poured into the elementary babies. One part I would say this, and please understand, I didn't want to say it, but I have to say it. We cannot afford to lose one more good therapist in Portsmouth. I applied for a school-based therapist position for the city of Portsmouth in October. I got hired. But can I honestly stand here and tell you today, I have yet to walk in the school. Because the program has not started. As a result, I did apply for the federal government. In less than a month's time, I got hired. The school-based therapist program has not lifted in Portsmouth. It's around a lot of different cities. And guess what? It wasn't about the money for me because I wanted to give back. So you know what I did? Not only did I apply for that federal position in the schools, and I did receive it, because I love Portsmouth, my job will still be in the Portsmouth school system. Just not hired by the city of Portsmouth. So I said all that to say this. The mental health issue, as you've already heard, since the pandemic, it has gone downhill. We're doing a lot of good things in Portsmouth. I'm not moving out of Portsmouth. And if you allow me to throw this in here, Bishop Randall, if y'all got some land, I'm going to build a house in Portsmouth. I'm willing to buy it. See my husband back there. But I said all that to say this. If we can dig deeper into the mental health piece, we can help our little babies start thinking and walking on the right track. Not saying that we can't reach them in middle and high school, because we can, but it starts at the elementary level. I'm still going to be able to reach my babies, but I was hoping it was going to be through Portsmouth. Where the blame lies, I'm not interested. The only thing I'm asking City Council to do is just to fix that particular problem. Because my husband will tell you, I had sleepless nights because I knew that I could give back to my babies. All of my professional counseling experience was in the city of Portsmouth in the school system. I'm still giving back. I'm not giving up. And I'm still living in a great city. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. And Bishop, thank you for your effort.
Well, thank you, Pastor Underdew. And I must say, I remember hearing from my good friend that it is easier to build a boy or a girl than it is to mend a man or a woman. And so when I think about what you said, I have a question for you. And because I need to understand the scope of what you're talking about, because you asked for something from us. So I need to understand from you, and maybe we can talk offline if that's okay. But I guess what I need to understand is within that program that is in place, we need to understand where's the accountability piece on that program, because what you just demonstrated to me, you were hired for a position and you've been unable to do the job.
Exactly.
And so I don't know what that is, honestly. I'm just being honest with you. I'm not going to sit up here and try to find an answer for you.
Actually, I can help you out.
Okay.
It's a very good program. Many districts around have now, because for those of you who all don't know it, you cannot use a professional counselor, in which we're used to the term guidance counselor, to fulfill the mental health needs of our babies. So it falls on your licensed therapist. So with this particular program, Mayor, you all opened up to hire school-based therapists. That's the name of the position. And you all were gonna start, from my understanding, it's supposed to be Waterview, Craddock Middle, Craddock Elementary, and one other school in the city. Well, the people were hired, because I was one of them. They added on another school, which made it a fourth school. And right now, that position comes through behavioral health care services. So I said that to say, You all gave the responsibility to them to initiate the program. And in my resignation, I was very thorough. I left nothing undone. I explained why I was leaving. I cannot sit there and avail myself to a program that has yet to start. And that's where it is. And if you are told, because I want to be completely honest, like I said, I hate to uncover anything, but I want to be honest. So if you're told that they did not have the staff to start, they did.
Okay.
They lost one,
Yeah.
and they have two more there.
Okay.
So right now, when I asked questions about the program, I didn't just up and leave.
Sure.
I asked several questions. When can we get started? And can I add this? Because I was in the school system for 18 years, I offered my support. So what I was receiving was that the school wasn't responding. But I also did my research and found out that that wasn't true. So again, I'm not putting the blame on anyone. I'm giving you what you're asking me for. And my heart is with these babies who don't know their left from their right.
And that's why I asked the question, because to me, if we're really going to sincerely engage in solutions, we've got to have those conversations. And it's not about blaming anyone. It's about uncovering where the gaps might be to success. And if that's people, if that's resources, what does that look like? And then moving deliberately in that way. Not saying that we're going to get it all right, but it's important that we share information, because in an effort to get better, it's going to require that. That's just in my training. I don't know.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Underdew, for those comments. You know, the persons with developmental disabilities is near and dear to my heart, because we have a business that we provide services to adults with developmental disabilities. We've been doing that for the last 25 years, and they have had a good life living in our programs at Lucas Lodge. But I believe that if they had had an early beginning, they would have been even better off. You know, a lot of people don't understand the lives or the mindset of persons with mental health and mental illnesses. So we need to educate our community on what this is. And the issue may be not at this level, not at the city level. It could be possibly at the state or federal level, because they don't provide funding to these programs. They see these as social programs that are disposable, that can be thrown away, because these are lives that don't matter that much. So we need to have more literacy and awareness about the mental health issues and the life that people face every day, whether they're adults or children. They could be impacted by a lot of these issues. Now, one way that we do help, beyond the youth level is, of course, with Dr. Wood, who is the director of behavioral health care. I don't know, what his understanding of what happened, or, if it's just something that fell through a crack, because I believe that if the program was brought online, that it was intended to be carried through. But the actual issue may be funding that comes from the state level, because a lot of times they are put in for a position, but there's no funding with it. They have individuals who need housing or need services, and they put them in a program. There's programs out there that can accept them, but if there's no funding to go with it, how do you hire nurses and drivers and provide for the services that they need to get the help that they need? So, but we will look into this matter for you, because I do believe that if persons who are affected by mental illnesses and mental health and disabilities, developmental disabilities, get the help that they need early on, that they can become a part of society to be able to live and deal and cope with their mental health issues.
All right, thank you. I want to also add a statement. You all don't necessarily have to answer this piece, but in reference to behavioral health, my uncle, who I am his guardian and conservator, he's ID. He doesn't have a case manager. It's been about, I would say, four months or so now. He doesn't have a case manager. The supervisor has stepped in to help, doing a wonderful job. But some of the workers, and I want to be transparent because someone will say, well, he only asking that question because his sister down there. But it's a fair question. If they're understaffed by 5 or 6 individuals, and then you have these other individuals that have about 15 to 20 clients, but then those 5 positions that you have open that's paying about $51,000 a year, that's an additional $200,000 just sitting there. Why aren't these individuals getting bonuses or raises or things of that nature? And that's something that a lot of the employees there are struggling with and want to know. Also, I want to also add to an issue that we're having. I serve as the president of the Brighton Prince Park Civic League. You all that know that I came down to council last week, and I thought it was going to be resolved. I honestly thought it was going to be resolved because Pastor Carswell, he's our sergeant at arms. And what I try to do now with the Civic League is tell them to bring their problems to the executive board. Once they tell us their problems, then I like to reach out to the city, just to kind of mitigate the issue without it having to, because I know some of y'all gonna say, well, Barry, you always came down there and raised a bunch of sand, and why you don't want nobody else to? Well, when you know better, you do better. So I'm trying to be a great leader in that aspect. I think some of the issues that we have in the city is that we have the wrong leadership in place. We had a gentleman, he's been calling and complaining. So when Ms. Elvira said, she said, I know what she's talking about. You all, we're calling you. But this gentleman calling me. And I'm just like, I called the zoning inspector. I'm telling him the issue. And he said, well, we're going to address it. And I'm saying, brother, you've been telling me that for the last year. We've been through 3 city managers and this problem have yet to be addressed. So then he sends me, the homeowner out here in Prince Park, he sends me video footage, same video footage from last year. He says, look, and I even went, he thought, I didn't want to do this because I don't want to cause a confrontation with my neighbor. He said, but I just had to go so that you all could see. He took pictures inside of the window. The other homeowner or renter, she has her hoses hanging out the window. She washes her clothes, and then when it's time for the clothes to be drained, she drained it all out on his property. And he sent pictures of showing just how much of a ditch and the cockroaches and just some of everything. And the inspector's like, well, I keep trying to address it, but we don't know. And I'm like, okay, you don't know, but then I'm gonna have to go to somebody over you that does know. I send it out to the interim city manager, Ms. Terry, and I send her the video. She calls me immediately, and she said, what in the world? Who's doing this? I begin to tell her who's doing it. I tell her the situation. And guys, I'm kind of relieved because I'm like, Lord, so I'm going to be done with this. It's off my back now. I text the gentleman. I said, listen, the city manager is on top of it. Everything's going to be fine. The next day, well, before that even happened, I tell the city manager, I said, Mr., and I want to be respectful because he's an employee, so he shouldn't have to be named. But I said, I'll call him John Doe. I said, Mr. Doe is our inspector. And Ms. Terry said, no, we don't have a Mr. Doe. We don't have, and I'm using that, that's not his name, guys. She said, no, we don't have that person to work for us. I said, well, he's been our inspector coming to our Civic League meetings for the last year. She said, yeah, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have that person. I don't have nobody by that name working for me. I said, okay, no problem. I said, you know what? Well, then here's his phone number. Can you please just call him and work it out? I called him the next day, and I said to him, when he answered the phone, I said, oh, by the way, I apologize because I've been calling you obviously the wrong name. He said, what you talking about? That is my name. I said, no. I talked to Miss Terry, and Miss Terry says she doesn't have a gentleman by that name that works for the city of Portsmouth. He says, oh, well, they don't know me by my last name. They just know me by my first name. And I'm bringing this up, guys, because this is the problem that we have in our city. The interim city manager texts me, oh, that's a portable washing machine. I said, it doesn't matter if it's portable or not. You can't do that. That's messing up with the environment. You can't, imagine if all of us here on one block just pull our hoses out the window and just let it run down. I'm bringing this up for a reason because the mayor brought up the Harvard study, and I was a part of that, as he stated. In that study, the Prince Park area was one of the #1 crime areas in the city. The reason why I'm bringing this up, guys, because watch this. If we can't fix a simple problem like that, how do we expect our citizens to tell us who the dope houses are, who the drug houses are, where they selling beer at to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? You know, I know some of y'all spots, y'all don't, that's a problem. I know y'all don't want to admit it, but that's issues that we have. When you let your next door neighbor sell them good fish sandwiches and that gin to 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning because the club closed. That causes problem. And then we look at, and I'm not just going to bring it to white because our vice mayor and our mayor, they stay in good, well-to-do neighborhood. They're not going to let it happen in their neighborhood either. They're going to say something about it. So that's neither here nor there. I was coming to council because I was upset, but before 5 o'clock, she called me and she said she was going to handle it. And I'm like, okay, I'll back away, because what I thought wasn't right was the inspector went out to the house. He gave that man a citation because his bushes were too big. And I'm saying to myself, like, where we get these people from? Because at the end of the day, that's retaliation. I don't care how you look at it. Because if I'm calling Mayor Glover about something, I'm calling him about something, and he come out there, it's nothing. He should be able to say, well, Barry, I hear what you're saying. By the way, I need you to take care of those bushes too. But when you penalize someone for creating, telling you about a problem, that's your way of retaliation because you're mad because they're calling. And all I did was post on social media that we had this issue in our community and I was going to go in, but thank God it got handled. Well, another citizen that I won't name said, well, Barry, they handled it. She handled it, the city man handled it because she did not want your smoke. I said, and I go look at it, guys. I ain't took none down. I said, my issue was not with the city manager, but my issue was with the employee. The next day, about 10:40 or so in the evening, I get a text message from the city manager. I heard you said you was gonna give me some smoke on Facebook. Oh, really? ... I called her back. I'm like, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. It's a misunderstanding. She wouldn't take my phone calls or nothing. That's the problem that we have in the city of Portsmouth. Because something as simple as fixing that issue, I wasn't calling just as a citizen. I'm calling as a civic league member and leader, trying to show our citizens there's a better way to handle things. Because this man will tell you in our meetings, 6 said, Mom, at any given time, oh, let's go down there together. And I tell him what? No, let me talk first. And then if I can't fix it, then we all show up. Because I know how it feels for these people to have to sit there and listen to 7 people get up and say the same thing over and over and over again. It's not right. I see your hands, but I'm talking. One second. I'm talking. I see your hand. But we have to do better as a city. We can't have people being retaliatory. We can't have the wrong leadership. And I want to say this to the citizens. And I say this wholeheartedly. To the directors, if your employees are not doing their job, you need to get rid of them. Virginia is an at-will employment state. Don't let nobody fool you. I say to the city manager, to the director, if your directors are not doing their job, get rid of them. And I say to the city council members, if your city manager is not doing her job, get rid of her. And we're not going to leave it there, because she made a comment that everything begins and ends with her. No, everything begins and ends with the citizens. Because citizens of Portsmouth, if the city council members don't do what they're supposed to do, get rid of them. That's how I'm telling you all, it ends and it stops with us. So I don't want y'all to comment on that because that's an employee. I just wanted to put that out there so that you all can have this, so that you all can understand that we're shooting our own selves in the foot, because we cannot look these citizens in the face and say, when you see something, say something. When you see something, say something. And then we got a citizen that's saying something about something as minor as this, and we can't get this fixed. So nobody's gonna call and talk about the amount of drug activity that's coming from their next door neighbor house. Because if they can't fix this, how can they fix that? So at the end of the day, I'm just telling you all, don't be fooled by the smoke and mirrors. We have a wonderful foundation here in this city, and we need to build upon it. But you can't do it if you don't have competent leadership. If you don't have competent leadership, compassionate, competent, and caring leadership. The day is over for who like who. Because it's not about who you like. It's about what you can do for the people at large. All right? This is what we're going to do. This gentleman first, and then you, and then we're going to close with the mayor and the vice mayor. Now listen to me. 2 minutes. All right? Thank you. You can stand up. I just want to say good evening. I'll turn this way. I just want to say good evening. And thank you for the opportunity. Now, I think I can talk loud enough. If you have one, I'll take it. If you don't worry about it. Thank you so much. Hello. Oh. I just want to say good evening and thank you for this opportunity to speak before you. And I want to thank the mayor, vice mayor, and the other prospective members for being here, and also the bishop. Thank you so much. What I want to say is this. The problem with these guns, with the kids, we can build upon this, but we got to think out of the box. A lot of times with these kids, you're saying they don't go to school. Well, we have military style training. If they don't want to go to school, then you put them in the military style training, even if they're young. But we have too many people are saying, oh, you bother my rights. If you can go around here and rob people, shoot them, kill them, you don't have no rights. And the ones that are in school, that they graduate, if they're not working a job or they're not going to college, put them in the military. Let's pass some laws to have them put in the military for 4 years and give them some discipline. And we got to think out of the box. Can't keep saying, coming to these meetings, and I don't hear it all this before. No disrespect. But you got to think out of the box. A lot of times in your neighborhood, you got to have some auxiliary people, police, volunteers, to patrol your area. You know who's doing wrong. You know better than the police. So think about that. That may don't sit well with some, but I guarantee you, you will reap the benefits. Thank you so much.
It's my turn. Good evening. First I want to say congratulations to Mr. Mark Hugo. I remember when, before you ran for city council, I was walking down High Street one day. I just want to get this out. I was walking down High Street one day, and it was two gentlemen walking behind me from the shipyard. And they were saying, vote for Mark Hugo. I didn't know who Mark Hugo was until I saw your picture. And so once you got on city council, I saw what they meant. And so I see some people on Facebook saying that they don't like you. I think they the ones you fired from the shipyard, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Now, to these two right here, I love both of y'all. I don't like the fact that y'all are going against each other, because I think y'all make a good pair together. I think y'all made a difference since we removed DeAndre from the vice mayor to you.
I think y'all made a difference, and I like y'all as a pair. Now, if y'all want to fight it out for mayor, it's okay. We all gonna decide who gonna win that seat, but I like y'all two as a pair. I just want you to know that. I like you and I like you. So it's gonna be a hard choice for me, but I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And you, I like you because I got a grandson in elementary school. And it always got to me when like the 757 people and the homie boys, whatever they call all the big homies and everything, they want to deal with the smaller kids. That ain't our problem. Our problem is the older ones, the 15, the 16-year-olds. My kids used to go to Awanas, church Awanas. And what I disliked was when they started out at 2 years old, they was good till they got 8 and 9. They got to run the races. They got all their awards and everything. But then when they got to 16, the church let them go because they turned into teenagers and the church didn't stand behind them like they did when they were smaller. But I like what you said about the 6 years old because I got a 6-year-old in there. And he come on some days and he tell me he get upset about the bullying with kids bullying some of his friends. And he don't say nothing, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't say nothing either. But I just want to thank you for your point that you made, and I understand. But I really want to make a point to y'all too. I like y'all two together as vice mayor, mayor, and I hope y'all can stick together. Even if you got to switch it over, you be the vice mayor, she be the mayor. We can even do that. We can do that.
All right. Thank you
But I
so much. Y'all
appreciate
come on, give
y'all.
her a hand. Before the mayor and the vice mayor come from the news, is there any question from you all?
So first of all, thank you guys for doing this. I used to work in Illinois for quite a while, and this is a problem that occurs in a lot of cities. It's not just a Portsmouth issue; it's a nationwide issue, especially when it comes to our kids, putting our hands around our kids. So thank you guys for doing this because I didn't see that at all when I lived in Illinois, and I've seen it for the first month that I've been here. My question is, and it's kind of a two-parter. We were talking about how to help the kids with United Portsmouth. We have the task force for the crime, the task force for poverty. I'm looking around, and a lot of this conversation has been geared towards children and young adults. I don't see a single child or young adult in the audience. How do you make them care about the issue?
And Mr. Mayor, when you answer that question, how we're going to do this, you can get up and stand in the front, look at that clock up there, and by 7:55, you can stop your response, answer his question, and then also tell the citizens what you've done in the city of Portsmouth and why you need their support. And then Vice Mayor Lucas Burke at 7:55, you get up, answer his question, and end the same way. Thank you.
Now, your question was, sir, I think, why should they care?
Why should the young adults, why should children, how do we get them to care?
Well, I think I kind of shared that in our interactions with our children. We got to give them trust, love, and confidence. And in the process of doing that, they'll see us doing the work that we're doing and they'll care. It's no different than many in this room. We all learn from our elders and their actions and the support and love that they gave us, that they taught us the golden rule, to be a good citizen, do your best in life. Just like my mother taught me. She said there were 4 things that you needed to do. You needed to get an education because once you get an education, no one can take it from you. And then after you get that education, you go, you get some training, and you get a good job. And when you get a good job, that's going to enable you to take care of your family. And then if you have an opportunity to give something back, do that, because everybody should be required to give something back to make it better for everyone. And the most important thing, don't forget where you came from. This stuff is not rocket science, y'all, but what it's going to require is hard work. See, if you really want to know the truth, if you look back at your own upbringing, mama, daddy, uncle, auntie, they put in a lot of work. and the neighborhood. We got to get back to the fundamentals: caring, compassion, and love, and showing up. And money ain't going to solve all the problems either. We know that because many of us didn't have much coming up. So money's not going to solve the problems. It's people working collaboratively together, caring about the future of our children. That's what's going to make the difference. And I use that same formula in my own life. When I left home, I was scared to death. Never left my mama's side, grew up, but it was a big change. But it was a change nonetheless that I needed to make as a man. And when I got to this city, when I became a part of this community, when Paul and I arrived here, we got to work on working in the community and building ourselves so that we could be of service to the community. My wife and I own childcare centers for 20 years in this city, Creative Learners Educational Center. We gave back to a lot of kids who didn't have. There was never a child in our center that if their mom didn't have the money, they still went on the field trip. Why? Because they needed that enrichment. That enrichment made a difference in their lives. And I've continued that along the way. I got a call last year real quick from one of the guidance counselors at Brighton. And she said, Mayor, I want my children to have an experience to go to the Virginia Science Museum. I said, okay. I said, well, how much is that going to cost? She gave me the number. We raised the money. 50 children went to the Virginia Science Museum. Lunches paid for, bus paid for. I don't tell you that for any other reason to let you know that I had an opportunity to make an impact in the lives of those children. And I took the opportunity. That's the spirit I'm talking about. This is a movement, y'all. What we're here to give our children and our community once again is a dream with hope and opportunity. We want to continue the progress that we've put in place as the leader of our city. You elected me to do the work that you asked me to do. And I'm not going to go into detail, but I think if you watch my actions and what I've done as your elected leader in the city of Portsmouth, it's been consistent. Have I made mistakes? Absolutely. Have I done it all well? Probably not. But my intention every day that I get up is to do the best for our children, for our seniors, and our citizens. And I am as committed to that end today as I ever was. So all I can ask for you at this time is that when you go out there on November the 5th, you remember to elect a person, okay, with the right leadership and the right experience to continue the progress in the city of Portsmouth. Thank you, Pastor Carswell. Thank you, Bishop Barry Randall. Thank you, citizens, for coming. Your presence was greatly appreciated tonight, and I'm humbled. Have a great evening.
All right, good evening, all. We made it to the final hour. And I thank you for your presentation, for your question, and also the question from the media that was brought to us. How do we make the children care? Because there are no children in this room, but there are families here who touch children's lives. And that's how we make the impact, that we show them something different. Our youth, not just in Portsmouth, but all across the nation, are looking at the behavior of the adults. And the behavior that they have seen is not one that is promising to them. We need to work with our state and our federal legislators to ensure that they bring us legislation that's going to help get some of these guns off of the street. And I believe in Second Amendment rights. I believe that everyone who wants to bear arms have that opportunity. But I don't think that there should be an opportunity where there are guns freely on the streets where the problems are our youth are getting the hands of. They're taking them out of the cars of irresponsible adults. So we, as the adults, need to show them a different behavior so that they can start acting differently. Because once you model something different to them, then they will respond to that. And I think it will begin with better legislation to handle the guns in our nations and illegal access to the guns that are in our legislation. So I am Lisa Lucasberg, Vice Mayor in the city of Portsmouth. I've served on the Portsmouth City Council for 7 years, 7.5. At the end of this year, will be 8. And you've seen 3 city managers. I've seen 6. And I think that is a problem. 6 city managers in 7 years is uncalled for. And that leadership does start at the top for the Portsmouth City Council. I'm an advocate for our housing and, of course, our police and fire and our sheriffs. Right now, we have a problem with youth not having a detention center right here in Portsmouth. Our sheriffs and our police are having to drive them somewhere as far as 6 hours away just to house them when they get an issue. And that is a problem that we are working on right now with our judges and our sheriff, so that we have some place for them. And working with our Commonwealth attorney to make sure that they have the proper funding to provide victim witness programs and witness protection programs, because these people are scared. You think if you got a neighbor afraid to tell them about the washing machine that's going out the window, these people are afraid that, yeah, it was my neighbor and I even saw him do it. But we need to provide the funding that our Commonwealth attorneys need. So as city council and as mayors, we need to be able to effectively work with the partners in our city, our school boards, our sheriffs, our police department, and our fire. Our fire asked for collective bargaining this year, and we, as a council, did vote that in. The majority of council voted that in because we believe that that's going to provide the access that we need to be able to recruit the right persons here to be able to protect our city, because our visitors and our citizens and our tourists need to be safe. They need to know that they have a reason to want to come to Portsmouth. And I believe that that is one of the reasons. That's one of the foundations to make sure that our cities are safe with our public safety. And then extra access to housing, because if they're going to come here, we're going to stay. I advocated for the housing project that came up right there at County in Effingham, Holly Point, and they're building a new project, housing development that's going to be Baines Point. So I'm providing opportunities for people to live, to work here on this side of the tunnel, and having access to our state legislators in the Virginia Senate who can help us to bring funding. And it does help to have a person who we know firsthand, who is the president pro tempore and chair of finance and appropriations, to say that, hey, help us out. We need some funding. What can Portsmouth do? And just being able to know who those persons are that can get us the access that we need. And I agree with the lady who said that, we are running against it. We're not running against each other. I was recruited for this position because I was happy to continue to run for Portsmouth City Council, but my city said that they want a different leadership and they want a new direction. And if it wasn't going to be me, that there was going to be somebody else. So I took the challenge because I have served on the Portsmouth City Council for 7 years. Other than one other person, I am the longest tenured person on the city council, and I've served as vice mayor for 2 terms in 2 years. And I believe that this step will give our city a new image that we have been lacking for some years. So vote for Lisa Lucas-Burke, November 5th for mayor.
Well, guys, listen, thank you guys so much. This is going to be a very interesting year. This was probably the litmus test for the two of them. They're going to have a great journey. I saw them both taking notes, and hopefully that our answers will, we'll get the answers to our solutions and to our statement. To my panelists, can we give all of our panelists a round of applause for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here on tonight? And again, thank you all, Coffee Talk, Hampton Roads Black Caucus, and anybody else. Thank you, Council Member Mark Hugel, for being here on tonight. Can we all stand? And I'm going to ask Pastor Carswell to give us a prayer out. Since we opened in prayer, we can end it in prayer. Is that all right?
Dr. Katie Geneva Cannon says, do the work that your soul must have. So I pray that we all do the work that our soul must have. Let us pray. Gracious and everlasting God, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for this time, God, that we have all met together to discuss, God, how we can get better and help our city. God, let us leave here with a mandate and a challenge, God, to make this world a better place, to make this city a better place. God, protect each individual in this place. Put a covering and a hedge of protection around everybody that is connected to them. Thank you for Bishop for putting this together, and we thank God for the direction of our city and how we're going to move and improve and be better for not only our children but future generations to come. May the grace of God and the peace of this holy temple rest, rule, and abide henceforth and forevermore. Let us all say amen, amen, and amen.